Thank you. Senator Schatz.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you all for your willingness to serve. I have three questions, and they're all for Mr. Zerzan. Thank you for being willing to step up, and thanks to your family for the sacrifice. And I'm going to caveat this with, I know you're not in the government, and I know that's an easy way not to answer the question and a perfectly fair way to not answer the question. So I'm actually trying to get to how you would approach this problem. Because you would be within your rights to say, well, I don't know yet, but I want you to try to answer this. The department, and I have a good relationship with the secretary, the department froze around 3,200 grant awards for review. And, you know, I've spoken with him both publicly and privately of the problem of all of them being frozen and then the bandwidth problem of unfreezing them individually. And he was pretty frank about the inability to process this in a timely fashion. I think we're now, out of the 3,200, somewhere between 400 and 500 that have now been approved. But this is the law, and we're now talking about billions of dollars of transportation infrastructure, nonpartisan stuff, bipartisan stuff, kind of, you know, meat and potato stuff. I'm wondering how, in the interest of fidelity to the law that we passed, both the appropriations law and the IIJA, how do we effectuate a process that doesn't end up, you know, taking us 5 years to get money out that's been approved, you know, a couple of years ago now?
Out of this massive pool of projects, only around 500 have been processed, which is a fraction compared to the total. This slow pace is not only frustrating lawmakers, but also delaying critical projects that were designed to improve the daily lives of millions of Americans. The impact of this freeze extends far beyond just numbers on paper. It affects real communities, real jobs, and real progress. When grant money remains locked, road repairs don't happen on time, bridges that need attention continue to deteriorate, and airport upgrades that could ease congestion and delays for travelers are put on hold. Every day that these funds remain trapped in bureaucratic processes is another day that communities wait for safer transportation, more efficient systems, and economic opportunities that come with infrastructure growth. The scale of the backlog highlights a deep problem in the way the government processes approvals. With billions already set aside by law for bipartisan projects, the expectation from the public is straightforward. Get the money where it was intended to go.
Manpower is, a great way to solve a lot of problems. So ensuring that you have eyeballs on the grants. I will tell you from my own experience, President Trump had ordered a review of all spending in order to ensure that the taxpayer dollars are being used faithfully. At the Department of the Interior, we go through each individual grant and review and see, because the government is very good at putting in clauses for allowing it to do things like pause its spending. And so to the extent there is a justifiable reason for doing so, then we've put a pause on it. If there's not, then the money goes out the door. So I completely sympathize with what you're saying, and I'm familiar with the challenge.
I just want to offer that just operationally, we may have to invert the assumption, right? You may want to review for impropriety or, noncompliance with the law or some other reason to freeze. But I think that as long as the Department of Transportation professionals have worked with a State Department of Transportation to engage, that our assumption should be that that is lawful, subject to review, not that all of it doesn't go until it's individually sort of reapproved. And because if we do that, and again, I'm not trying to, reduce the prerogatives of the department to align better with the new president's priorities and the new secretary's priorities. But
right now, the current system assumes that every project must be paused until it is reviewed again, which has caused an enormous backlog that could take years to clear. By flipping the assumption, starting with approval rather than denial, the process becomes far more efficient, ensuring that money reaches projects on time. This is not about ignoring oversight or accountability, but about trusting the established processes that already exist between the Department of Transportation and state transportation departments. When professionals at both levels have already worked together to approve a project, it makes sense to let the funding proceed unless there are clear red flags that demand further review. This approach recognizes that infrastructure projects are time sensitive and that delays have cascading effects on communities, jobs, and public safety. Every bridge that remains unfixed, every road that stays congested, and every airport that operates under outdated conditions is a reminder of what bureaucratic gridlock costs the public. By changing the approval process, billions of dollars could be unlocked much faster, allowing construction to begin and communities to benefit sooner. It also helps restore trust between citizens and the government as people see that approved projects are not stuck in endless waiting cycles.
But you're just not going to get through this list, and you're going to get people on a bipartisan basis, pretty angry. The other challenge is I don't want to create a situation where it's Tammany Hall, and I got to appeal directly to the secretary to kind of release my funds, right? And then it's a mayor and a swimming pool in your council district, and that's not the way that we do transportation infrastructure. So this is not working right now, and I think the secretary would agree, but we need a new process because more manpower, what's going to happen. It's going to take months to just fund, hire, train, and then we're into next year, and we will be 1/3 of our way through the list. This thing is going too slow. There is an Office of Tribal Transportation and an Office of Tribal Government Affairs. And I want to know how you're going to work with them to train lawyers and program staff on their obligations under the law regarding tribal consultation and transportation issues. The reason I mention this is that we did a bunch of things on a bipartisan basis to include tribes in ways that are novel, but they are now statutory. The problem is that, as you know, from DOI, people kind of know what tribal consultation means. DOT, not as much. And, we had a problem with the energy department where this was all new to them. So they had like bonding requirements for like a 300-person tribe, as if that tribe were a municipal government that could go onto Wall Street and get a AAA rating. And so I just want your commitment to kind of work through these issues, given your experience at DOI, and to help your team understand that tribes can't be treated like counties. You have to understand the unique legal obligations and trust obligations between the United States government and tribes.
When it comes to tribal consultation, the senator emphasized that Native American tribes cannot simply be treated like counties or municipalities. Tribes have unique legal and trust obligations with the United States government, obligations that are rooted in history, law, and sovereignty. In the past, some federal agencies failed to recognize these differences, applying the same requirements to small tribes that would normally apply to large city governments. For example, the senator recalled how a tribe with only a few hundred people was expected to meet the same financial standards as a major municipality, such as securing high-level credit ratings on Wall Street. Such unrealistic demands not only slow down progress, but also undermine the principle of respecting tribal sovereignty. The commitment Zerzan gave to work closely with the Office of Tribal Transportation and the Office of Tribal Government Affairs is crucial to ensuring that staff are properly trained to understand and honor these unique obligations. Without this understanding, projects that could benefit tribal communities risk being delayed or mishandled. Alongside this issue, the matter of aviation consumer protection reflects another area where ordinary Americans are waiting for stronger support. Air travelers face daily frustrations like delayed flights, hidden fees, poor customer service, and cancellations with little accountability from airlines.
Yeah, absolutely, Senator. Thank you, and I hope I can help create value in that respect.
Okay, thank you. And then final question, with your indulgence, Mr. Chairman. In the last FAA reauthorization, I passed a law to create a standalone aviation consumer protection office to further empower this function at DOT. It's not fully established because it was subject to appropriations, and we haven't appropriated money for this purpose. So that functions would reside under the GC's shop, and I just want your commitment to just fight for consumers in the aviation context, and for us to be able to work together on a couple of specific things. There were some rulemakings that I think were broadly popular and rational, and I'm hoping we can work together on just protecting aviation consumers.
Thank you, Senator.